made this bitch too? What got into you?
If I had $1 for every time these niggas hate, I'd be rich like Jen, yeah. I got rich with Babyface. We came up just make a play. And I feel just like Beyonce, niggas slush, saying my name. I can't back down front of nigga, I bring more smoke to tail again. I'm the GOAT, don't get front of free throw. Fade away, whipping dough, make it big shine. You can't say it ain't. I know if I wasn't that great, they wouldn't even.
What's happening, people? This is episode 2, Dos in Spanish, for my Spanish speakers, Spanish something. You know what I'm saying? You know, this guy right here in that culture. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is episode 2. Welcome back. I'm your gracious host, Jalen Miles. Welcome back to the Lazy Cast. And we have quite a lot to talk about. Looking at the schedule right now, looking at my rundown. I forgot to put that. There you go. Boom. Lazy Cast. But yes, today is strictly just basketball and football. There's not a lot in terms of any MMA news that I wanted to talk about or anything else. Again, for baseball, I'm strictly waiting for the postseason because the regular season is pretty much over with. So I'll be more in depth with a little bit of baseball once the postseason actually starts. But for people that maybe ask, oh, why don't you talk baseball? It's because the regular season is over. At this point, games really, it's, it's not really like, I don't want to say that important, but the regular season is basically over with. So I'll give my 2 cents once the postseason starts. And plus, I'm still relatively a novice to baseball. I'm not really, I don't want to say I don't know much about it, but I don't know much about it, I guess. So, I did contradict myself. But yeah, man, I got the Palm Angels on. Shout out my dad. He gave me this. I'm feeling fancy. I get out the shower. I woke up very late, by the way. This is being recorded at 5:12 p.m. Uh, Chicago time. I don't know what's Chicago time. No, it's not Pacific. Something crazy. What is Chicago time? Or like Midwest? What is the Midwest? Put in the comments. That's how you interact with your fans. Put it in the comments. What is the Midwestern time? Anyway, but yes, we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to get into week 4, and I won't give my week 5 predictions. I'll see that till Friday. Um, but yes, media day for the NBA was yesterday, and there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack. Strictly just with the Miami Heat because of Jimmy Butler. That man is a character and a half, and you just can't help but love him. But so yeah, just go over media day stuff with the NBA, and we're gonna go over my Eastern Conference predictions. And if you look at the thumbnail, it should have Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. Those are the current 3 best players, I think, me. And if you take anything from this pod, my opinion is fine. So, if you have a different opinion, it's wrong. Just tell me. So, but yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be that's the first thing we talk about, and just essentially giving a little in-depth team playoff seedings, play-in teams, just essentially just going down all of the Eastern Conference, trying to make it as sweet and quick as possible, and then going to week 4. And then for the people that may be asking, what about the Western Conference? If I was to talk about both the East and the West in one video, this probably be over 6 hours. I still have to edit this. I'm sorry. Because I don't want to talk for 6 hours. I really like talking to really like talking to y'all. I'm playing. Anyway, so yeah, let's just get straight into it, man. The Eastern Conference uh, predictions. The East is so stacked. For years and years and years and years, with the NBA, it has always been the Western Conference was always better than the East, which for rightfully so, especially those LeBron years. It was really just LeBron and fuck all whoever else. You know what I'm saying? So now you have teams like the Sixers, even if they don't keep James Harden, they're still a very good team. Boston Celtics, who just added Drew Holiday, the Miami Heat. Um, Even though they lost two key contributors in a Max Strus and a Gabe Vincent, they still have a pretty solid ass roster. That same roster who just came from the NBA Finals can't really hold that against them, especially you can't really bet against Jimmy Butler at this point in time. He's proven it not once, not twice, but three damn times already that he can take basically any roster to the NBA Finals. He is a bona fide superstar. In my opinion, I think Jimmy Butler is a bona fide superstar. And what did we learn earlier? My opinion, it's always right. So even when I'm wrong, I'm right. So just let that simmer in, let that sit in for a little bit. But yeah, we're just it is hard to bet against Miami. I want to say Miami is gonna be bad, but that would be just a hater in me. And I'm going to be unbiased as possible. So Miami, another team. Obviously, the Bucks. They got Dame. Speaking of Miami, they also could get Malcolm Brogdon, who was traded in that Boston Trail Portland trade, where they sent Drew Holiday to Boston, Malcolm Brogdon and Williams to excuse me to oh yeah, that trade happened. That trade happened. That could have been a wake up call, but I mean, big major moves. Not to say Drew Holiday isn't a big major player, but yeah. So yeah, that happened. And Portland, it's always been rumors of them saying like, yeah, we're probably gonna move off of Malcolm, because they really want, especially at the guard position where you have Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons, two really young guards that you want to build your future around, especially Scoot. You don't want to take away really any type of minutes away from those two. You want to let them have the court together as much as possible. If I'm Portland, we want to have them on the court as possible, as much as humanly possible. Because why not? It's the team is basically theirs. The franchise is basically theirs. So I'm not no. Malcolm most likely going to get traded to a title contender. So that throws in teams like Philly, uh, you know, Miami, who I just mentioned, and maybe some Western Conference teams that I think right now it's most likely Malcolm Brogdon. He go to Miami, which I think would be a smart move, especially missing out on Dame and Drew, two two really solid point guards. You got to do something. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that for today. But for the obviously outside of the three teams that I mentioned in the thumbnail, there are other teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, Brooklyn Nets, other teams like that are relatively still getting better and have gotten better. So yeah, we're just gonna look at the Eastern Conference, give my predictions, and essentially who will be the new kings of the East. You know, we've had a multitude of players, best players coming out of the Eastern Conference, like I mentioned earlier, at the LeBron era. LeBron and everyone else, especially when he was in Cleveland. If you want to be more technical, you had LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Melo when he was in New York, stuff like that. But it was a relatively like true like number one guy. LeBron. Same thing if you go back to the Jordan era, you had Jordan and everyone else. But essentially Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, the rest on and on. So looking at 2020, we've had I think it's safe to say that we have a definitive number one guy in Giannis, but the league is so like wide open. It's really hard. Granted, the Bucks are spoiler alert. If spoiler alert, the Bucks are my favorites. Not just because they're my favorite team and that's my team and they have my favorite player. The addition of Damian Lillard skyrockets them into like a top two title favorites. So yeah, it's whoops. I'm sorry I spoiled the video. Like, you can click off now. Go somewhere else. I'm lying. Don't leave, please. But yeah, they're a very good team. Even without Damian Lillard, they were a very, very good team. They wouldn't be in number one seed, them and winning 60 plus games if it wasn't for Chris missing a lot of time. It was really just the Giannis and Drew show. So yeah, it the Bucks are gonna be fine. But yeah, looking at the Eastern Conference as a whole, looking at them from top to bottom, looking at the players outside of the big three that I mentioned, you have players like a Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Darius Garland. You have a lot of great players, Malik Bridges, a lot of great players that are coming up in the East that are looking to take that crown. So I'm going to actually, I'm going to be such a great host, and we're just going to look up the Eastern Conference, and we're just going to go through it as a great team, as a tandem, as a duo, as my twin, as my slime, as my gang, all that great stuff that the kids be saying in today's day and age. Now, with the Eastern Conference, like I mentioned, man. Definitively, I think Giannis is the best player in all of these. But you have players like Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, looking to take that crown. So, what teams do I realistically think have a chance of making it out of the Eastern Conference? Off rip, looking outside the three, you have teams like the Cavaliers. Oh, wait, I need to share my screen. I'm sorry. I'm not sharing my screen. Yeah, looking outside the big three, which I keep saying, you have teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets, Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, the Raptors, and so on and so forth. After really like Brooklyn, well, after Miami, it's really like it's not really like that I could say could realistically have a chance of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm trying to see what is it good. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so yeah, looking at this, I think obviously looking at season wise, I think these top three stay the same. These three stay the same, with Cleveland, Brooklyn, and Miami going to be knocking on the door trying to get their third, even second seed. Who I think is going to be the number one seed between those three? Roll a coin, flip a dice, pick one. It really doesn't matter between the first two. Philly, not so much because again, the whole James Harden situation, it's looking like he's not going to come back, which he might go to like the Clippers or somewhere. I don't know. Miami, who cares? Like, I'll say James Harden. But with my Milwaukee and Boston, it's honestly very hard to say which team will be the number one seed because they damn near have an identical record. It's just that Boston had one less win than Milwaukee. Other than that, they're basically the exact same team. And record wise, let me say that record wise. But teams that will be knocking on the door for this top three will be, like I mentioned, Cleveland, Brooklyn, and Miami. Now, I just to get my seedings out the way, just for the sake of choosing, just to get this video moving along, I will say Milwaukee 1, Boston 2. I'm gonna say Cleveland 3 because Donovan Mitchell is on a revenge tour. They just got embarrassed in the playoffs last season, underperformed, whatever you want to call it, any negative thing. They didn't look good. They just didn't look good, and just didn't look ready against the New York Knicks. So I'm gonna say Cleveland 3, Philly 4, Miami 5, Brooklyn 6, New York 7, Toronto 8, uh, Indiana 9, Chicago 10, and that's it. Indiana is another team that could realistically make the playoffs, and I can see them being outside of it. play-in team because they restructured their roster a lot with the additions of Obi Toppin and Bruce Brown, who just came up winning a championship in Denver. But I'm not ready yet to say that Indiana is going to be a seventh or even a sixth seed or even an eighth seed. So I'm relatively still on the fence of saying that they're just going to be a playing team. Oh wait, I had them out. No, I think I had them at eight. I think I had them as an 8 or 9 seed. So yeah, I think Indiana at the highest I can see them as being a play-in team, which I'm not mad at. I'm not having high expectations for a team like the Pacers because again they're still very young. They're very, very, very young team, and I'm not going to be mad if they're playing a team. I will be extremely shocked and ecstatic if they're as high as, say, the highest I can see them going is like the 6th seed. And that would be because they're playing well and just other teams are just underperforming or vice versa. So, yeah. But yeah, that would be my seedings. Uh, yeah, relatively, I think pretty similar to what a lot of other people would have. But it's just for the simple fact of the first two seeds are most likely going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals because I don't see anyone beating the Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs. I'm having a hard time seeing Philly beat them. I'm having a hard time seeing Cleveland compete, New York, anything after like anything after Cleveland. I'm having a hard time seeing them compete. I don't see Miami competing with them, even though I just mentioned earlier saying try not to bet against Jimmy Butler because that man has proven time and time again that he can get the job done. But I think now teams have scouted enough and teams are looking at him like, yeah, you're not going to get us anybody. Like, you tried, pal. You're not going to get us with that, with old fucking flip shit. You're not going to get us with that. So I think teams are going to be ready for Miami, and in particular, Jimmy Butler. And on top of that, Miami does not have two main reasons. Well, let me not say main reasons. Two of the biggest contributors to the reason why they were in there, let alone Western Conference Finals. I mean Eastern Conference Finals, let alone the finals, in Gabe Vincent and Gabe obviously being in LA and Max going to Cleveland, which is going to be another big addition for Cleveland because they really lacked shooting, like outside shooting in the summer or even coming off the bench. But it's, they were a very limited shooting team. So he's a great addition to the team. I can't talk about it. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not really sure on I'm not really sure on anybody else beating Milwaukee or Boston. I'm looking at the teams, looking at rosters, and I'm just thinking there's relatively no way that anyone can beat any of those two teams. Is honestly Milwaukee offers to lose. It's theirs to lose in terms of going to the NBA Finals. One of those two teams are going to represent the East, and preferably I would hope it be the Bucks, and I think it will be the Bucks. It was going around all over Twitter and IG, going into Game Seven. I mean, out of a 7 game series, what roster would you pick between obviously the Milwaukee Bucks and the um the Boston Celtics? I cannot speak to that. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, let me actually 1 second. Let me. I just in case you guys don't know the roster, don't know the tea, don't know the news. Oh, just stick with old Jalen. Jalen's gonna get you guys right. So yeah, but relatively those are two teams to beat. Fun, I think it'll be exciting, and yeah, very excited. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, oh, oh. These are okay. Okay, so these aren't all right. What this that I'm just gonna look at it because for some reason when I looked it up, it showed me a little kid dancing. Like I don't know why they showed me that, but just to recap a little bit. This okay, just to recap a little bit. The two teams that I have is Boston and Milwaukee, and I will get again, like I mentioned earlier, I will get into the Western Conference later in the week being Friday, and these thumbnails that you guys are seeing. So with this one having the three guys, Tatum, Embiid, Giannis. I won't reveal who's on the Western Conference thumbnail, obviously. But these thumbnails will be leading into a potential top 10 players list going into the season. Now, the way I do my list is the criteria for my list, and I'll go in more in depth when I do that video, but just a quick heads up for people that don't are who aren't familiar. Again, this is for people who are like, a little new or haven't seen me do this or anything like that. The criteria are for, especially for current NBA, I should say. This isn't all the time. I did that list a while ago, and I doubt that changes anytime soon. I doubt that changes anytime soon. But for current, it's strictly just three things: impact on the team, and winning, performance on both sides of the ball, and what's my song? Why am I drawing? Performance, impact, and what was it? Jesus. Uh, it's gonna annoy me. It's gonna annoy me because I was just talking about this to myself. I was just rehearsing it before I even got on camera. It's gonna annoy the best out of me. I'll come back to it. But the main two will be impact and performance on both sides. So yeah, that's really it. That's the main I guess the big two. I guess you could say the big two. That'll be in terms of my criteria. And based off last, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Performance based off last season as well, too. So that's the big three. Impact on winning, um, performances on the court on both sides of the ball, and also stats and everything based off last season. Those are the only three things I take into account when I make my top 10 lists. Because I've made this before, and some people have some issues with it. Again, my opinion is the only thing that matters. And if you have a different opinion, I didn't have to say it. You already knew. I didn't have to say it. You already knew. But yeah. So that is basically going to be a sneak peek into my top 10 list. Obviously, with no order um, revealed yet, but it'll just be the six players on both thumbnails, and then the two mystery players that just haven't been revealed yet. So just to look out on that. That will most likely come sometime next week. I'm still debating if I want to do it Tuesday or maybe Friday, the next Friday, because the thing is, I focused more on the Eastern Conference for this week because after, like I mentioned earlier, after like a certain amount of teams, you kind of figure out who's really competing for a championship and who's not. So with the West, that's a lot different because there are a lot of teams that you could realistically say could make it to the Western Conference Finals, let alone the actual NBA Finals. So that's why I'm deciding doing the Eastern Conference first and then the Western Conference later on a day where there's not so much football. Because right after this, I'm talking a crap ton of football. So, but yeah, um, those are my seedings for the Eastern Conference. This was very messy. I'm sorry if I couldn't talk, but those are my seedings for the Eastern Conference. Again, I believe for the Eastern Conference Championship, it will be Bucks and Celtics in the Eastern Conference. It really doesn't matter what the seed is. Like you could honestly flip a coin. Like I brought up the last year's stats. The Celtics lost one less game than Milwaukee. So honestly, just pick. You can just pick. If you think Boston's going to be the number one seed, I'm not mad at you. If you think Milwaukee's going to be the number one seed, again, it really doesn't matter to me. I think all that matters is once playoff time hit. Obviously, I want to see both teams how they're going to mesh well together with new additions. Obviously, being more of a Milwaukee guy, I want to see how Dame meshes with Giannis, meshes well with the bench unit, meshes well with Chris, Bobby, Brooke, etc., etc., etc. So, and the NBA season starts in less than a month or in a month, one of the two. So I'm trying to get all these predictions and everything out the way before the season starts, so I don't have to just try to shoot them out a week or two before and stuff like that. So I'm trying to be a good potter and actually have all my predictions and say so's and this, that, and the third, blah, 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 out. So when the season wraps or when it's midway through All Star break, we can look back and laugh or congratulate for both about how good and how bad my takes are. Which, again, none of my takes are bad. So, just saying. But yes, those are my takes on Eastern Conference. Those are the three best players that I have, and I think are in the Eastern Conference right now. With an honorable mention to Jimmy Butler, it's hard to it's hard to keep that man down because it's like regular season wise, he is. I don't want to say bad. He's not the best. He's okay in terms at superstar level. Like let's keep this apparent to other superstars because these are I'm ranking and rating his performances, his stats, and his numbers based on other superstars in the league or other stars in the league, and all that stuff. So when you look at his regular season numbers, it's like this guy at best like a top 20 player, top 25 player. But when you look at impact when he gets to Miami, and once crunch time happens, and also once the playoffs start, that 20, 21 points per game shoots up to like 29, 30 points per game. So, would you rather have a player in the regular season coast but turns it up in the playoffs, or would you rather have a player that coasts that actually goes hard in the regular season, but because they go so hard, they don't have much. They don't have much. So, perfect example of this is Jimmy Butler is a player that really doesn't go that hard in the playoffs. I mean, in the regular season, but will turn it up to 1,000. Or someone like a Joel Embiid, who regular season wise, all last year he really wanted that MVP. He got that MVP, and in the postseason didn't perform like an MVP. Just keep it at that. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how Jimmy performs in the regular season. Now that essentially all eyes are on him, and not to say that all eyes weren't on him before, but now even more because there were the Cinderella story. Excuse me, there were the AC taking down the Bucks, taking down the Celtics, taking down the Knicks, and all these other teams, making it to the NBA Finals, going up against Denver and all this other stuff. So all eyes are going to be on Miami, very much so, very rightfully so. But I don't think they'll have that element of surprise anymore. Of just, hey, we're a low seed, we're just gonna work our asses off and just catch you slipping. And I don't think they'll have that surprise no more, especially if they need the Bucks in the playoffs. Which I hope they do. I really hope they do. I really hope Miami and Milwaukee get to the playoffs. I will be a little upset if they don't. Not upset, but I'll be sad if they don't, because that's just one that you just gotta. That's just one you gotta. That's one you gotta like get back. Don't be honest with us. Like I'm afraid. If that means lose the game just so we meet the Heat on purpose, I'm with it. If that means we gotta be the second seed or we be the third seed just to meet Miami, I'm all for it. I'm so serious. I will gladly take that. 1,000%. 1,000%. I will 100% take that. Please give us that rematch. Because we need it. We need it. I don't know if they need it, but I need it for my sanity. Because we went out embarrassed. Granted, a whole bunch of narratives, a whole bunch of variables went into it. Giannis was hurt, playing barely at 100%. Man was playing at like 60, 50%. Drew played god awful. Chris Middleton was very inconsistent. No one on the team played, and we were just old. And our team, relatively, our team is still very old. We haven't gotten younger. But last year, we were just so old. I think I looked at a stat where it said we're the oldest team. We were the oldest team age-wise. We were the oldest team in the NBA. And the Lakers, who I think was at the bottom around the Bucks, was skyrocketed towards like the middle of the pack or closer towards the upper echelon of younger teams because of the trade deadline. What they did was got rid of all the old niggas and brought in some young guns that are gonna move up. When you have someone like Giannis, when his whole game plan is centered around moving up and down the court, why would you not want to surround him with other people that can move up and down the damn court? I'm just saying. That's just me. When you have someone like Damian Lillard, granted, Dame isn't 26, 27. He's not in his young prime anymore. I would still say Damian Lillard is still in his prime, technically. And he's either in his prime or he's leaving his prime. That's how I like to see it. Dame is what, 34? I think. Dame is 30. He's got to be like 30 something. He's no older than 35. He's no older than 32, I believe. I don't think Dame's 34. I don't know why I said 34. Damian Lillard is no older than 30. I'm trying to put it. I want to guess it. I want to see if I can guess it before I look it up. Okay, so I have it on my phone. I looked it up on my phone, but I don't look. I'm gonna say Damian Lillard's 32. He's 33. I was close. So he's close to 34. He's close. He's very close to 34. So Giannis obviously being like 28, 29. He's still in his prime. And Chris Middleton, he's not getting any younger. He's relatively around the same age as Dame. Brook Lopez, also very old. Bobby Portis. He's not old, but there's only so much Bobby Portis can do. And I like the Millie Beasley pickup because whether he's starting or coming off the bench, good 3-and-D guy that hopefully remembers how to actually be a 3-and-D guy opposed to just wasting minutes. But it'll be fun though. It'll be interesting. Basketball right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. The NBA season is very close. Very close, man. And, like I mentioned earlier, the Western Conference predicts are going to be coming out this Friday, and I'll probably go a little bit more in depth in certain teams, just because there's honestly so many teams. There's so many teams in the West that could realistically, so let alone the Western Conference with the actual NBA Finals. Looking at the East, there's really only like three, maybe four teams that could really make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, let alone the actual NBA Finals. And those three teams are the three that are on the thumbnail, and that fourth being Miami. And even still, you kind of like shake your head on Miami because it's like they lost two really valuable pieces to the team, but it's like, hey, we got Jimmy. So it's like, who knows? But yeah, so that's why I wanted to do this one this week, and the questions come out this week. I mean, this Friday. So yeah, but that is the Eastern Conference. Moving on to balls of foot. Week 4. Recapping week 4, man. Whew. It was something. Week 4, the football weeks, man. We're already on week 5. We're already on week 5. It feels like these weeks are going by fast. Like, just sitting back and just looking week by week, game by game, quarter by quarter. These weeks have been going by fast. it feels like all of a sudden we're already like close to like teams are already having bye weeks, and it feels like we just started. That's crazy. That's wild. But so yeah, a lot of things happen on week 4. Um, let's just get it out the way, my Eagles. And the way I'm sounding, it sounds like we lost. We didn't lose. Can I be transparent? Can I be honest with y'all, real fast, real quick, real? You know what I'm saying? I don't like the way we're playing. I do not like the way that we have been playing, and it's you know, it, it's so frustrating right now because I understand that it's week 4. It is very early, very, 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 very early still. Granted, teams are still figuring themselves out. Injuries happening to everyone throughout the league, so I can't be mad necessarily, and I can't expect us to be just clicking automatically straight out the gate because it's real life. It's not bad. So I'm just gonna go straight to the Philly game because my team. I want to talk about them. And I want to actually give my legit thoughts about the game. So I was out. I wasn't watching this game live. I caught glimpses of it. I caught, I think, going into halftime when we were down. I think it was like 17-10, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was 17-10. I just looked at it, 17-10. Let me actually show you guys. I keep forgetting I can share my screen. Let me actually show you guys so we can all just go on this journey together. We can go on this journey together, people. I want you guys to, excuse me, no. I want you guys to go on this journey with me. So I want to make sure this looks right. If this load, please load. Okay, 3, 2, 1, load, load, load. All right, cool. So just looking at, I think this is why I stopped watching because I was at the gym with my cousins, and granted they had the game on the TV, so I was like between sets working on arms, and then stop and watch the game, and then go back to arms, go back to arms, go back to arms, stop watching the game to the point where I just stopped working out altogether. Like it got to a point where I like legit stopped working out altogether. It felt like, and I was just trying to watch the game because our defense, Sam Howell was tearing our asses up. I'm gonna just keep. There's no way to sugarcoat that. There's no way to be nice about it. Sam Howell was torching us. We could not stop him. We cannot stop Terry McLaurin. We couldn't stop nobody. Like I'm just keeping it up. Looking at the stats, make sure y'all can still see this with me. Okay, cool. So looking at the stats, we have touchscreen, baby. Yeah, I forget this is touchscreen. I'm not gonna lie to you. But looking at the stats, we have Sam Howell who went basically 30 or 41, 290 with a touchdown, sacked 5 times. So we were getting back there to him. He was just making great throws. And with a QBR of almost 100. Brian Robinson, 14 attempts, 45 yards. And like I mentioned, Scary Terry, 10 targets, 8 receptions, 86 yards, no touchdowns, but had a very controversial call. Now I'm going to give my opinion on the call after I go over the Eagle stats real fast. Jalen Hurts went 25-37, 319, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and QB rating of 112. DeAndre Swift, who I have been loving recently, I'm so glad that he's actually playing up to his ability that he was playing in Detroit. Is just that when he was healthy, he was playing very good. He just could never catch a break in Detroit and was never healthy. So I'm glad that he's actually healthy now. But yeah, he had 14 rushes, 56 yards, and a touchdown. AJ Brown, who has finally come to life. It sucks because I don't have him on any of my fantasy teams, but you got to pick and choose your battles. I have Devonta and I have Goddard. I don't have AJ. Was the one Eagle I really wanted, but I digress. He had 13 targets, 9 receptions, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Very big touchdowns, especially when it came at the fourth quarter when Hurts found him on a streak essentially to the end zone. It was money. It's AJ Brown. And Devonta Smith, who I mentioned earlier, 9 receptions. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 78 yards, and no touchdowns. So before I get into essentially my thoughts on the game, I want to talk about the call. Let me look at myself while I do this. Y'all get the solo count for this one. Oh. So I'm gonna y'all just picture it with me. I'm not gonna just picture it with me. So the call itself, Sam Howell bombarded, bunch of Eagles, best D line in the league, rushing, angry man, big girl, all that stuff. What Darius Slow say about DK? Big gorilla, all that stuff. Big gorilla. That's so funny. But rushing off his back foot, basically has 3 dudes in his face. Somehow gets a perfect ball off to Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, who was guarded by Reed Blankenship, has to essentially catch the ball like this, and has to tippy toe. You can't see my toes, but I'm on my tippy toes. Out of bounds. He catches the ball. Underrated wide receiver, great hands, underrated everything about Scary Terry. Reed falls, trying to defend him. Terry jumps up, catches the ball, gets 1 foot in bounds, and the other foot seemingly stays in bounds as well. First down. Hold on. Let's review the tape. Looking back at the tape, he gets 1 leg down. I have 1 shirts, by the way. He gets 1 leg down, but remember Reed. He falls, right? Arm is right here. Terry McLaurin steps on his arm as he was going out of bounds. A lot of people, there's been a lot of controversy about this call. Some people saying it was a fair catch. Some people saying he was out of bounds. I'm going to give my take on it. I studied this play very heavily. My initial reaction, then again, also I didn't see a lot, which I'm so upset about because, mind you, I was at the gym. I wasn't watching any NFL games. So yeah, I wasn't watching any NFL games. But I watched this play religiously because I knew I was going to talk about this coming up, and I wanted to be unbiased as possible when I talk about it. So when you look at the play, Terry has again the 1 foot that's inbounds 100%. I was saying in the NFL, this isn't college. You don't just need 1 foot, you need 2. So his other foot is directly, straight right here. I don't know why I'm turning it this way. It's right here, right here. I think it'll be better if I put the mic down. So his foot, boom, right here. Out of bounds line is also right here. He steps out of bounds. Hopefully y'all understand. I'm sorry. So yeah, basically what I said, he stepped on his foot, went right out of bounds. I looked at the play and reviewed it. They said he was out of bounds. And that was essentially the end of the game. Jake Elliott hits the field goal in overtime. Hits the field goal overtime. Eagles win. Blah blah blah. Good. I thought the refs got it. I thought he was out of bounds. I thought he was. I don't think it was a catch. Now, my reasoning behind it not being a catch, I looked at this again. Unbiased, take the biased glasses off. Oh, I can't see. I need those back on. Take all that off. It's like the smallest amount of green in between the out of bounds line and the actual field. Because Reed's arm is basically covering the actual green. So once he steps off of his arm, it's so hard to tell to see whether or not he actually stepped on the field or if he stepped out of bounds. And from what I saw personally, it looked like once he got off of his arm, he stepped right out of bounds. But it was so minuscule, it was so close, like literally, it was probably smaller than that. Like that's as small as I can get my fingers. It was probably smaller than that, if I'm being honest. And it looked like he stepped out of bounds. It looked now, I could be completely wrong, which I'm not, but I could be completely wrong, and he steps in bounds just by like a legit blade of grass, and we'll just never know because, again, I'm not a referee and I'm not a professional, but I'm a professional potter. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? What's up, G-Way? Hey, the client with my friend. So, yeah, it's very close. It's very, 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 very close. But I think the refs got it right. I don't think it was a catch. I don't. I think they got it right. I think it wasn't a catch. Now, it was a very spectacular, it was a very good catch by Terry. It was very good. It was very good. And I feel for Reed's arm because, Lord have mercy, if a man with cleats, an NFL player with cleats, jumps in air to catch a football and is coming down full force on my arm, I would have died right there on the field. I would have cried and I would have retired. You wouldn't have saw me. I would have just amputated my arm. I don't want to feel that pain anymore. I'm so serious. I wish I was joking. But yeah, I think it was a catch. I 100% think it wasn't a catch. My fault. I think it wasn't a catch. I think the ref got that right. Um, and that's the only time you're gonna hear me praise the refs because they got a lot of stuff wrong on that Sunday night game with the Chiefs and the Jets, which I will get into later. But I think the refs got that. I think that was 100% catch. On to Washington. If the Eagles have the best D line in all of the NFL, Washington has they're right there. They're right up there. Eagles is right here. Washington is right here. Because goodness gracious, you forget how good Chase Young is until you actually see him on the field. Because my God, that Washington D line is ridiculous. Chase Young, like I mentioned, dude is a havoc and it's just a ton of it. He is. And then you have alongside of him, Jonathan Allen and that entire Washington defense. Granted, they obviously looking at the score, like they gave up 34 points. That was a hard 34 points to get. We were losing for a good chunk of that game. Like I mentioned, going into the halftime, it was 17-10. We were losing that game. We couldn't stop the game, and they seemingly had all the momentum. We were marching down the field, but once we got to the end zone, it just seemed like we couldn't do anything. But at least in the first half, I'm just speaking from the first half of what I saw. Granted, I didn't watch the second half live. I watched the highlights. So if I didn't see play 634 where we got 18 yards up, I didn't see it live. I'm sorry. But yeah, it here's big ups to the Commanders. Big ups to the Commanders. Let me look at that record. I believe they're 2-2 now, right? Yeah, they're 2-2. Yeah, 2-2. A strong 2-2. Don't let the 500 record. They're a strong 2-2. Strong 2-2. Because they could very, very well easily be. They could very well easily be 3-1, right? And tied with us for first and the NFC East. So, shout out to the Commanders. That was a very good game. Very good game. Good effort from a young team that is going to be good for a very long time. Nothing but praise. Anything, and I will say this real quick. When I come on here and I talk about my favorite teams on an emphasis on the Bucks or the Eagles or anything like that, I completely throw biases out the window. Unless we win or someone has a historical performance, i.e., when Giannis dropped 50 in the finals. I was Giannis this, Giannis that, Giannis this, Giannis that. But when you come off that high and when you actually look at things unbiased, that's what I try to do as best as possible. Now, I try. Keyword try. Try. I try my best. But yes, I'm gonna be as unbiased as possible with the Eagles. I said that we had week 3 going into this game. My last episode, I said the Eagles had the best defense or the best D line in all of the NFL. I still stand by that D line. Jalen Carter, excuse me, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis. I'm for some reason Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean coming off the edge. Those 5 alone, that is the best defensive line. Even if you don't want to include the linebackers, you just have those 3 guys that I mentioned: Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. Those 3 are ridiculous, ridiculous, absolute crazy. I think that we have the best D line in all of the NFL. Darn, it's hard to argue this. It's hard. Defense as well, very solid, very good. I can start naming off people and you'll be like, oh, this is a great defense. We have a great defense. We have a fantastic offense. You know who plays for you. If you don't, exactly. I don't like the way I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like the way. Granted, it's week 4. It is still very early, but all these games, I feel like one or the other. Our offense looks mid and our defense looks fantastic, or vice versa. We can never have a complete unit of a game to where our offense and our defense looks phenomenal on the same day, at the same time, in the same game. And we haven't had that this season. But then again, this is still very early. It's still week 1, so we have plenty of time. We have plenty of time to address or knock any type of rust off that we need to. But when you have teams, I hate saying this, when you have a team like the 49ers and the Bills, granted the Bills after week 1, the New Jersey, after I keep saying after they lost to the Jets after week 1, the Bills have just been demolishing everybody. And the 49ers, again, demolishing everybody. Another undefeated team. So it's tough because I'm not gonna go as far as to say that we're not a top 5, top 3 team in the league. I still think we are. I 100% think we are. It's just very hard to really see us as one of those upper echelons, like the best team in the league, because we've been very inconsistent. Looking at all 4 weeks and looking at all 4 games, week 1 came out phenomenal. Defense was demolishing the Patriots. It was up 16-0, and then gave up 2 touchdowns. It was 16-14 going to 10. And that final score ended up being 25-20. Offense looks very bad. There's no sugarcoat. We look horrible. We didn't look that great. Week 2, much better bounce back offense. Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith looked amazing. Then this was the DeAndre Swift game where he had a career night. Offense looked amazing, and the defense was holding Minnesota at one point. I think it was 28-7. We looked amazing. Blah 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 blah. This was shaping to be a blowout. And again, Minnesota is one of the best offensive teams in the league. They have been struggling lately, but you still really can't count out Minnesota, especially when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. It's really hard to count those guys. So I will give us some sort of a pass, but still, when you have one of the best defenses in the league, you got to produce. Giving up damn near 21 unanswered, it's just like, whoa. It's just like, whoa, wait a minute. So that game was much closer than it needs to be. Again, we won it. The Tampa game was a blowout. It's what I expected us to do. It was 25-11. Again, it was kind of a even type of game. Granted, was it Hurts and I think Kelsey was having like flu-like symptoms or something like that, so they weren't feeling well. So still played, still got the dub. And then obviously on to week 4, we barely escaped Washington. I'm gonna put this on a back burner for right now. But mark my words, if we are going into, let's say, week 8 and week 9, and we're still having these problems, and I don't care if we're undefeated going into week 9 or we've only lost like 1 or 2 games and we're still one of the best teams, I'm going to be worried. I'm going to be very, very worried because we have a team in San Francisco that is coming for our head. We have a team in Buffalo that is trying to prove that they can beat KC. We still have to worry about Kansas City. We still have to worry about Dallas. And Washington is actually going to be good this year. So we still have a bunch of other teams that are coming for our head. We have to be careful of. We have to. So I'm not. This isn't a bash the Eagles segment where I think the Eagles are ass or the trash or anything like that. I'm not saying we're still a top 5 team in all of the NFL. Don't get it twisted. It's still fly Eagles fly. Don't get it twisted now. But I'm just worried. But I'm a, I'm gonna put it on the back burner. I'm gonna put it on the back burner. But mark my words, if we are going into week 8 and week 9, and we're still having the same troubles where our offense looks good one day and our defense looks bad, and vice versa, and these other teams aren't having that problem, then that's when it becomes a problem because we're damn near in the middle of the season and we still haven't seemed to figure it out. So I'll just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. But that was my little, I guess not rant, but that was my little thing on the Eagles. But yeah, man. Let's go ahead and look back at the rest of these games. But yes, big, very much needed win for the Eagles against a very good Washington team. So shout out to Washington, shout out to the Eagles for getting that done. I'm gonna talk about the Kansas City game now. I'll save that for later. You know what? I'll save that one for last. Just looking around the league again. I'll talk about this one later. Let me make sure this is sharing my screen. Okay, let's go. So I'll save this one for later. But Seahawks, I watched the game last night. The Giants, I don't know what's wrong with the Giants. Obviously, they don't have Saquon, and he is probably the biggest factor of their team, the offensive side of the ball, I should say, and 100% the best player on the team. But this is twice now. Where the Giants have damn near been blown out and cannot put up anything on the scoreboard. They did get a field goal, but they could have easily gotten blown out 24-0, with the Seahawks getting 11 team sacks. 11. 1-1. 1-1. 11 team sacks. Not good. Bill Belichick and the Patriots lose badly to the Cowboys 38-3. The Patriots might be time to give over Mac Jones. It might be time to either give him some type of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, because defensively, giving up 38 points to Dallas team that just got smacked by Arizona at the week prior. Just saying. But the Patriots, it might be time to go and rebuild mode, man. I'm gonna just be honest. I know Bill Belichick is the defensive mastermind, blah 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 blah. I don't even think he's the best coach in the league anymore. I think that title wholeheartedly goes. I think that title goes to Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is the best coach in all of the NFL. And even when you still look at other coaches like a Kyle Shanahan, like a Nick Sirianni, when you look at a Mike McDaniels, even though they just got blown out by Buffalo, it's a lot of the head coaches that are coming for that number 1 spot that Bill used to have for so long. And it's like, with performances like these, and especially coming off last season, it's really hard. It's really hard to considerably sit there and say that he is still the best coach in the NFL. I guess this is the hot take. I guess this is the one hot take that I have. I don't think Bill Belichick is the best coach anymore or best head coach in the league, or you can make that argument that he's probably not even a top 5 head coach in the league still. I wouldn't go that far, but I can see the argument for him being made. So, but yeah, Cowboys win a lot. Other team I was talking about, the only other undefeated team in all of the NFL, the 49ers, beats the Arizona Cardinals 35-16. But shout out to Josh Dobbs. Shout out to Joshua Dobbs. That man has been playing his booty off for that Arizona team that doesn't even have his name or have his jersey in their team store. But shout out to Josh Dobbs. That man is going to be a very good quarterback in this league. Whether it's for the Cardinals where Kyler comes back or anything, that man is a very good quarterback. Do not let the stats and the naysayers and the Twitter tweeters, whatever, don't let any of those lose you. Josh Dobbs is a good quarterback. Shout out to Josh Dobbs. The Chargers squeaked by the Vegas Raiders 24-17. I just talked about the Eagles game, and the Rams barely beat the Colts. That was a fun game to watch, 29-23. I'm gonna come back to this Buffalo game. The Buccaneers, who take sole possession of number 1 seed in their division, the NFC South, beating the Saints 26-9. Granted, I think Derek Carr was hurt this game, right? Is he still hurt? Or am I not? Am I tweaking? I think he is still hurt. I'm not. I think Jameis Winston was starting for the Saints. If this would load. Oh, it did. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no, he was playing. Oh, then never mind. It's just the team is just good. Never mind. So yeah, since we're, I guess we'll talk about Baker. Baker has been very good. Very, very good. And with their only loss being to my Eagles, um, upset win against 2 teams that a lot of people expected them to lose to, myself included, being the Vikings and the Rams. Oh wait, did they? Wait, did they play the Rams? No, it was Chicago. I'm tweaking. I'm thinking that the Rams only had an upset win. But yeah, one team that everyone thought they were going to lose to in Minnesota, week 1, squeak by, demolish the Bears, obviously lose to the Eagles, and kill the Saints 26-9. The NFC South runs through Baker, man. Well, it's going to be a certain point in time where y'all are going to have to give this man Baker Mayfield his flowers, because he did this with the Rams last season when they were dead without Matthew Stafford, and now he's doing it with a whole other coach, whole other play call, whole other system, again with the Tampa Bay Bucks. We're having 25 of 32 completions, 25 out of 32 completions, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 pick thrown. Man, like, we're going to have to start talking about Baker, dog. We're going to have to start talking about this man, Baker, and giving this man the rightful flowers that he deserves. Because if he brings Tampa Bay to a playoff berth, let alone wins the NFC South, granted that division is very weak, but still wins the NFC South, or is in the position to where they're close to winning the NFC South, y'all got to stop talking about Baker. Derek Carr and the Saints, on the other hand, we got to start talking about them more in a negative light, because this team offensively is not looking good. They're not. They're looking bad. They're looking bad. Derek Carr, 23 out of 37 pass attempts, completed 23 out of 37 pass attempts, 127 yards. No anything, no picks or touchdowns. I think he was still hurt coming into this game. I think that could be a reason why he performed so poorly. I think he possibly could have still been dealing with an injury that he suffered last week. But Alvin Kamara's back. He had 11 rushes with 51 yards with no touchdowns. And Michael Thomas did nothing, essentially, with 6 targets, 4 receptions, and 53 yards with 0 touchdowns. The Saints are the definition of mid. don't know what to tell you. They are that offense, which should be a lot better than it is, isn't, and the defense can stop a PB team from scoring. It seems like that team is just not looking good, and I don't know what it is to fix it. At least off the top of my head, maybe if I come up with something later down the line, I'll give it to you guys. As of right now, I can't think of to fix this Saints team because they didn't. The Baltimore Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns 28-3. Baltimore is starting to click on all cylinders, and I'm loving it. I'm really happy for that team because I'm a very big Lamar guy, and I like seeing him do it. I think I would say Lamar is probably my favorite player in the league outside of like Jalen Hurts and anybody in the Eagles. But the Texans beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-6. CJ Stroud is slowly trying to steal away that offensive rookie of the year from a little known dude and a woman named DJ Robinson. And if we're being honest, who would have thought? Let's hear me out real quick. Let me. Who would have thought coming into this year that there would be four like realistic, like no BS, four realistic offensive rookie of the year candidates with Anthony Richardson in Indiana, CJ Stroud with the Texans, Bijan Robinson, who obviously a lot of people picked, including myself. I think it would have either been him, excuse me, it would have been him or Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is my favorite rookie quarterback out of this whole class. I just like that a lot. And Puka Nacua for the Rams, who recently just broke the rookie receiving yard record and most receptions in the first 4 games of any rookie wideout. The Rams, Sean McVay and the boys, they have found them something. And that dude using every single opportunity that he can, and I just can't do nothing but applaud him. Shout out to him. Those 4 dudes, who would have thought that those would have been a 4 names for offensive rookie of the year, and not one of those guys being Bryce Young? Just saying. Hey man, football, man, is any given Sunday, dude. That's all I'm gonna say. Any given Sunday. So those are realistic. Though, like if the season was to end today, those would be the 4 candidates I think rightfully deserve to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So yeah. Speaking of winning, something that the Bears have not done yet this season. That is when, sorry, Chicago fans, you guys were very close, very, 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 very close to winning, but you fall 31-28 to the Denver Broncos, finishing with an 0-4 record on the year. Now let me spiel about Justin Fields real quick. Because I am a firm believer, I say this anytime I talk about a young player, I'll continue saying this, give young players time. You need to get closer to the camera. Give young players developing time. Give them time, please. And what you saw was Justin Fields' best pro day. Period, point blank. That was the best career day as a quarterback. That's honestly, I would say, it's probably one of his best games of football I've ever seen from him. Give him time. Please give him time. Now, I'm not one of people that are very harsh on Justin. I know a lot of Bears fans that are just saying, forget it. Just give us Caleb Williams at this point. Just give us Marvin Harrison Jr. If I'm being honest, and I've spoken to a couple Bears fans, one being my good friend Darius. What's up, man? How you doing, gang? He's still a firm believer that Justin can work in Chicago. I think he's right. I think Justin can work in Chicago. Who I don't think can work is Matt Eberflus. Get that guy out of here. He needs to go. Get him gone. I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying to keep it a little bit more, sensory. But get that man out of here, please. I don't think Eberflus can work in Chicago. He hasn't shown me anything from last season going into this season that he can win, or he not even win. He hasn't shown me that he knows what to do with Justin Fields, let alone win a football game. He doesn't know what to do with his star franchise, supposed to be the franchise quarterback. He doesn't know what to do with him. He doesn't. He doesn't. This whole organization as a whole is just doo doo water. And I don't want to say blow it all up because they just did that. They just did that. They just blew it all up. So you can't blow it all up again because then it's just like that's just an endless rebuild that no one wants to be part of. So give it time. Give young players time to develop. And I am an advocate for that. No matter what sport it is, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, mixed martial arts, please give these young players. Please do. Like I know we're in an era where we want things so quickly, want things so fast, and we're so used to seeing, you know, young players of the past. So referencing basketball, we're so used to seeing a LeBron after his rookie year, second year come out average 27, 7, and 7. LeBron, if you don't believe me, look it up. LeBron did that the second year. But yeah, we're spoiled. I'm gonna just be honest. As a sports fan, we're spoiled when we look at these all-time greats and we see these new potential great football players that can be great, or great basketball players, great baseball players, etc., 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 that can be great, but they have hiccups. Get him out of here. He's a bust. It's garbage. We throw that buzzword around too often. Now, am I saying that there are never any busts and that Justin Fields can be a bust? I'm not saying that he doesn't have that capability. For all I know, Justin Fields, this could be his one best pro day, and this man could throw 0 touchdowns and throw 86 picks for the rest of the season. Then yeah, the man's a bust. Go get Caleb Williams at that point. There's no defending because he's not good at that point. But he has shown flashes of being great. I don't want to keep using Ohio State as, his film because it's the NFL, that was college, two totally different beasts. But if you look at the way he was playing in Ohio State and look at the way he's playing now in Chicago, that's two totally different players. Two totally different players. You're using your player wrong, Matt. I'm just keep it a buck, keep it a bean, keep it out. You're using Fields wrong. You have one of the most athletic and one of the most one of the fastest players, let alone at the quarterback position, but just in general. And you want him to just not use his legs. And when he has to use his legs, he can't think, he can't process defense properly because the O line is garbage. He can't think and process properly because the plays that's being transmitted to him, that's being told to him, aren't good. He's having to run 5 screen passes in a row. So where the defense is just like, okay, we're just gonna see over here. We're just gonna wait for you to throw the ball. You're gonna throw a screen pass? Oops, I know, and I'm gonna run it back. Like, I'm not saying that Fields is absolved of blame because there's been times where Fields holds onto the ball too long. There's been times where Fields just looks lost. There's been times. So just give these young players time to develop. Please, please, please. I know this is third year, second year in the league. We gotta stop expecting these players to be MVP calibers straight out the gate. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. I'm not saying he doesn't have that potential to do that. I'm not saying that at all. But can we please stop trying to put all this expectation on these players, pressure on these players so fast and so quickly? Can we just stop it, please? Thank you so much. That's it. But yeah, Fields looked amazing. He looked amazing that day. He looked absolutely amazing. So I want to see more of that Justin Fields. If Justin continues to play like that for the rest of the season, I want every single one of you Bears haters, or not even Bears haters, Bills haters, to please go write that man a liberal apology, please, because give people time, dog. That's all I gotta say. But rounding out these final last couple of games, the Bengals beat finally. Oh wait, no, the Bengals lost. The Bengals, I don't know why I said beat. The Bengals lost, dropping to 1-3 to the Tennessee Titans, 27-3. Who the Titans have a very underrated defense. They also, I think, have a top seven-ish, top six defense in the league. It's just that their offense is not great because they don't have a good quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, but that's neither here nor there. Um, with the Bengals, they're risking Joe Burrow. They're risking his health. They're risking his life because I wholeheartedly believe that Joe Burrow is going to get injured again. Not on wood. I'm not wishing that he gets injured, but it's looking like it. You can build up that O line as much as you want, as much as possible, but that man is getting destroyed out there. That man is getting killed out there. So I think if going into like week 5 and he looks the same, I'm shutting him down. I'm sorry. I'm shutting him down for like a week or two. Like, you need time to heal that calf. You need time to rest. If we don't make the playoffs this year, we just don't make the playoffs this year. That's fine. But I'm not going to risk my franchise quarterback. No, I'm not going to risk my franchise quarterback just for us to barely make the playoffs and get smacked in the first round or lose in a wild card game by like fucking Bills or the Dolphins, something like that. No, I'm not. I'm not doing that. Speaking of teams that finally got over the hump, we have the Panthers losing, but alongside the Bears being the only two undefeated. I mean, only two winless teams in all of the NFL, with the Panthers losing to the Vikings, who got their first win, 21-13. The Jaguars in the first ever Toy Story game. That was a fun. I watched a little bit of it live. Toy Story game. It was actually pretty decent. They still have some kinks they need to figure out and fix with that game and with that type of style of football that they want to do. They're 100% going to bring this back next year because it did do well and it did look cool. It's just some certain things that they got to fix and look pretty cool. So yeah, the Jaguars bounce back, beat the Falcons 23-7, and we already talked about the Lions and the Packers. We was actually potting when that game was live. Packers beat the Packers lose to the Lions 34-20, game taking sole possession of the NFC North. Potential Super Bowl contender. But the last game I wanted to talk about before we look ahead to week 5 or this Thursday night game was the Bills. Now the Bills just came off having one of the best offensive games ever, literally ever, coming from dropping 7 points on Denver to losing by damn near 30 to the Bills, losing to the Bills 20-48. Jalen Waddle was back, but the Bills, like I mentioned, they are just a different. After that week 1 loss, the Jets, something snapped. Something snapped. And I don't see them losing for a very long time. There's certain teams that you can just tell, like, I would bet my entire house that they're not going to lose. I don't even live in a house. I would bet a random person's house they're going to lose. They're not going to lose. Oh, yeah. Just looking at the stats real quick. Tua completed 25 versus 35 passing attempts, 282 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. 1 pick, was sacked 4 times, had a QBR of 92.8. So not a bad game in particular for Tua. Um, so yeah, man. And then looking at Tyreek Hill, the Bills, even though Tre'Davious White did suffer a torn ACL, torn Achilles, I believe, so he is gone for the season, which prayers out for him and his family. Hopefully he can make a speedy recovery. And it sucks because like when the Bills finally get healthy, they're already without Von. He's still slowly recovering. You know, you want your players to be as healthy as possible, but something like a torn Achilles or a torn ACL, torn MCL, torn anything, it sucks. It really does suck. So prayers for him, praise he comes back healthy and ready for next season, or can possibly make it to the playoffs or later this season, because the Bills most likely are going to make the playoffs. They are a Super Bowl contending type team, so if he makes it to the Super Bowl, we'll see. We'll, fingers crossed. But yeah, man. Again, the Bills, just their defense, one of the best defenses in the league. These are two of the best teams in the league. Um, damn near have identical records and everything. So it's when you have a game like this and them to lose with this type of stature and this type of way. My phone is vibrating, so I'm putting on D&D. I'm sorry if you felt the vibrations or heard it. But yeah, but looking at the Bills, we have Josh Allen completed 21 of his 25 passing attempts, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, with a QBR of 158. Tavis Murray carried the ball a little bit. Allen, we had 5 touchdowns on the day, where they had rushed one in, and James Cook had a touchdown as well. Stephon Diggs, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns. And it feels good to see Diggs, player like Diggs and AJ Brown, who I don't want to say complaining, but they weren't getting the ball. Simple as that. When you see your star player, one of your best players, if not your best player, depending on who you ask, not getting the ball enough in whatever sport, or not put in a position to make plays, to win or to produce for their team, that being a Stephon Diggs, that being an AJ Brown, who simply put just wasn't getting the ball enough and wasn't put in a position to make plays. When you have special type of players like, for example, Stephon Diggs, who's my favorite wide receiver in all of it. Yes, I said that. He's my favorite wide receiver. I do still like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, but I've always had a very soft spot for Stephon Diggs back when he was in Minnesota and he had the Minneapolis Miracle. So Stephon is my favorite wideout. So I love seeing him do well and perform and actually put up the numbers that you would expect him to put up, as well as another wide receiver who had a really good day. We had Gabe Davis, who caught all 3 of his passes, had 61 yards, and also a touchdown himself on the day. Um, it's not much to take off this game. It's just that it's football, man. Any given Sunday. The best way to describe it is that it's any given Sunday. That is the best way to describe football. You see the Dolphins drop 70 points last week on Denver, and you see them get dropped off by almost 30 next week by Buffalo. This was my game of the week. This was a game that I was very excited for, and this was a game that I thought could potentially be game of the week, and it was just for one team and not the other. So shout out to Buffalo. Shout out to Miami. They're going to bounce back. I'm not worried about Miami. They just played a really hot team and one of the best teams in all of the NFL. The best team, depending on who you ask. So, yeah, they're going to be fine. I'm not worried at all about Miami or anything like that. So, on to the last game of week 4, and this will be the last game to talk about. Um, period. And we have the Chiefs and the Jets. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this game, with that being a couple bad missed calls. There were a lot of bad missed calls. One being a blatant holding call that was not called against the Chiefs. And the Jets had a very unfortunate loss, losing 23-20. Patrick Mahomes wasn't himself. He played. You know what's crazy? I saw this thing. I saw this thing online that said Swifties, because Taylor Swift was at this game. She was obviously watching the Travis Kelce. Swifties are going to think that Zach Wilson is a better quarterback or a better player. And that's going to be so crazy to really think about that. Because if you think about it, Patrick Mahomes did not have a good game. 18 of 30, 203, one touchdown and two picks. Not a big game. Where QBR was 63.6. It's not a big game. It's not a usual Patrick. So any type of fan would realize, like, oh, Pat just didn't have a game, or that Jets defense just really got. Swifties on the other hand, Taylor Swift fans will look at this game. This is probably the first time really watching football because Taylor Swift was out there. And they will think Zach Wilson is a better player or a better quarterback. Just let that sink in for a second. Zach Wilson is a better player than Patrick Mahomes. I can't say that with a straight face. That's just wild. But you know who was the best? Is probably the best player on the field. Isaiah Pacheco, 20 rushes, 115 yards, and one touchdown. I wanted him on fantasy league. Someone stole it from me. If you're that person that stole it from me, why would you do that? You're the worst person in the world. And Mahomes had 7 rushes for 51 yards. And Travis Kelce, the Swifty we are talking about, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 60 yards, no TDs, no Gray. Also had one very good 34-yard touchdown run. That was the only touchdown scored through the air for Patrick Mahomes on the day. All right, time to talk about the Chiefs. I will talk about the Jets in a second. I promise. I want to get my spiel about the Chiefs. The Chiefs look beatable. Coming off last year, where they were making do with what they didn't have, obviously losing Tyreek Hill that prior off season. I'm talking about last season, by the way. It was a lot of question marks. Oh, what are they going to do? Blah blah blah. This time the third, the Chiefs aren't going to make it back to the Western Conference Finals, the AFC Championship. I mean, I keep saying Western Conference, the AFC Championship, let alone Super Bowl, and then the winning Super Bowl. Obviously, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. This is still Week 4. A lot of stuff can happen. They could bounce back and win by 50 next week, and no one would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. You would be surprised. But through the first 4 weeks, the Chiefs have looked beatable. Their only surefire win that they had was against the Bears. I'm going to say that again. Their only blowout win that they had was against the Bears. Be fucking for real. Anyway, their other games that they've played have been all sloppy. They haven't had a convincing win other than beating the Bears. First week, they lost to the Lions. Granted, that was out of Mahomes' hand. Kadarius Toney just had baby oil on his hands. He couldn't catch the ball. None of the receivers on Kansas City could catch the ball, especially Kadarius Toney. Week 2, they barely beat Jacksonville. It was just an ugly game on both sides of the ball, even with having Travis Kelce back. Obviously, Week 3, they beat the Bears. And in Week 4, barely beat the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. And with a Zach Wilson who's been playing horrendous ever since he's been named starter. So the Chiefs look very vulnerable. They look beatable. They're having kind of the Eagles situation, what I was talking about earlier, but not to the certain extent because I do think the Eagles on paper are the better team because offensively, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have an A.J. Brown and a Devonta Smith and a Dallas Goedert. He just doesn't. The only thing equivalent to that he has is Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce does not make up for all 3 of those guys. He doesn't. Only thing that you could possibly say that the Chiefs have and the Eagles have that are relatively the same is that they both have really good running backs. And DeAndre Swift and Isaiah Pacheco. Other than that, wide receiver room clears. Eagles clears Kansas City's. does. And defensively, I think we're the better defense. And if you disagree, you're wrong. You know, I don't want to opinions. Mine right, yours. Say it was wrong. There you go. So yeah, I don't I don't know. The Chiefs are an interesting team to look at. And eventually they'll bounce back. I'm again, they could win by 50 next week, and no one would be surprised. They would just be like, "Oh, Chiefs doing Chiefs things," and no one would be shocked at it at all. So, but on to the team that lost but gave a valiant effort, and that team being the Jets. Zach Wilson outperformed Patrick Mahomes, completing 28 of his 39 passing attempts, 245 yards, two touchdowns, zero picks, with a QBR of 105. Bryce Hall with six rushes, 56 yards, and Alan Lazard catching the only touchdown of the day. Oh, one of the two touchdowns of the day from Zach being his three receptions, 61 yards, one touchdown. Usman had also a touchdown on the goal line. Garrett Wilson is getting a lot of targets, rightfully so. He's the best wide receiver that they have. 14 targets, 9 receptions, 60 yards, 0 touchdowns. Um, you got to feel for Zach. You got to feel for him, man. You got to because it's tough because and all on the sideline you can see nothing but the cameras pan to him and saying everyone's trying to keep his head up, but when all week long you're hearing from not only fans booing you constantly, and New York fans, y'all some fucking assholes. I will keep it above. Y'all shit. I'm trying not to curse, but I hate New York fans with passion. You guys suck. Um, you're hearing it from your own fans. You're hearing it from the media constantly. Even in the post game interview, when you had Chris Jones, who was constantly trying to tackle him and couldn't. How many sacks did they have? They only had 2 sacks on the day. We have Chris Jones, arguably one of the best D tackles in all of the entire NFL, can only get back there twice. Not even just him, but just the D line in general can only get back there twice. He's trying to explain and say, yo, this guy's a special talent. And you have one of the reporters saying, no, he's ass. What? Make that make sense. So you have not only your own fan base, your own players, your own media. Your media on top of nationwide media, all of Twitter, all of Instagram, all of YouTube, everyone and their mama are saying how ass you are. Everyone. Everyone is saying how bad you are because Aaron Rodgers got hurt. And the whole point of this whole experiment with Aaron Rodgers was just for Zach to observe and eventually take the reins from Aaron when he eventually retires or whatever. And you gotta feel for him. I genuinely feel for him. That's why I'm so heavy on advocating for young players to get time. Have them, let them develop. And who has been there to help Zach Wilson? Nobody. Nobody. No one's been there to help him outside of Aaron Rodgers and his Achilles pops the very first play. So what are we doing? Why are we going so hard on this dude? I understand. Second overall pick. Blah blah blah. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. I understand. I understand. I understand. Second overall pick. It's amazing. High expectations. I get that. I promise you. I get that. But can we chill just a little bit? Just like a fraction of what the type of negative comments and a negative media representation that this man has been getting. Can we chill, please? Like for real. It's ridiculous. It's getting to the point where it's like you have this man, you have these young players stressing, rightfully so, because you have an entire organization, an entire fan base that's behind you and wants you to take them to somewhere they haven't been in a very long time. Looking at Bryce Young, looking at Justin Fields, looking at Zach Wilson. These guys have some of the hardest jobs in all of sports. I'm not going to say all the jobs in all of America, but just some of the hardest jobs in all of sports. Y'all gotta be lenient with these guys. Y'all gotta be lenient with them. Y'all gotta be somewhat patient with these dudes. Y'all got to, dog. Y'all gotta be, because it's getting to a point where it's like, fuck it, trade me. I don't want to be here. I don't. But I don't, because I know if you trade me, or if I get released, there goes my one chance that I had, and I'm probably not going to get another job. Only person outside of those three guys, this would probably be Bryce Young, because he is a rookie. The other two dudes, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, they've been in the league for 3 years. 3 years. Yeah, no, I think 3 years. They've been in the league for 3 years. So there's a little bit more expectation for those guys opposed to a Bryce Young, who literally is only 4 games into his NFL career. So take that how you want. Let's not be so quick to just write off young players. I understand a lot of people, a lot of these reporters and media outlets do it for clicks. They don't necessarily, this isn't how they truly feel. This is just for clicks and all this other stuff. But let's just chill, dog. Let's just chill. That's just my little spiel of the week. And if I have to say it every week, I will continue to say it for a week. Give young players time. Please. Just give them time. Zach, you played amazing. You still win. That's all it is. That's all it is to it. That's it. That's in a week four recap. I, you know what? Let's give my prediction on week 5 for who I think wins. And let me create that real fast. Let me just make a quick little. Actually, let me not even do Thursday night football predicts. And boom. Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna go too in depth with this. I'm just giving a quick prediction of who I think wins on this upcoming Thursday. If it would load, that would be great. Okay. Oh, speaking of Justin Fields, it's the Bears and the Commanders. So, um, in Washington also, looking at some of these games. Oh, I don't think I made the thing good. Did I? I did not. Terrible, terrible Potter. I'm such a terrible Potter. Okay. Ignore all these Uber Eats. I'm not sponsored by Uber Eats. Ignore all that. Unless, Uber? Yeah, I use it a lot. What is DoorDash? Unless DoorDash? Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what Uber Eats is. Unless DoorDash don't see this and Uber Eats sees this, I don't know what DoorDash is. What is Grubhub? Sponsor me, dude. What? Anyway, looking at Thursday night, we have the 0-4 Bears going against 2-2 Commanders. Out of all that talk I just had about Justin Fields and young players, I do think that the Commanders win this. They just pushed, especially being at home, they just pushed the Eagles to overtime, essentially, and barely losing that game. The Bears' defense is just, it's damn near non-existent. So it's hard to really to really, it's hard. It's just hard. It's hard to gauge the Bears because offensively they could be very good. Offensively they could be very, very solid team. It's just that their defense, the pass rush in particular, is probably the worst in the league, and their offensive line also is probably the worst in the league. So when you look at those two narratives, I'm gonna say that the Commanders win this game relatively easy, but with the way that Justin Fields played last week against Denver, he maybe has some type of confidence about himself, you know, actually being able to perform on a high level and actually coming off probably his best game that he's had, and not just as a pro, but probably all of football. I'm hoping that the Bears can make this game competitive. I still think that the Commanders win this. I'm going to go with that it is 28-21. Commanders. And yeah, but with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and get me. But yeah, that's it. This is it, man. Hopefully y'all enjoyed episode 2 of the Lazy Cast. I'm your gracious associate Miles. Again, let me know you guys' predictions of week 4. I mean, not predictions. Let me know you guys' opinions and everything about week 4. Whether you agree with me or agree with me or agree with me. You get why I'm not saying disagree? Because remember, my opinion's right. Yours is you got it. Somebody can take that seriously. If you do, oh well. So yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Let me know you guys' comments. Week 5 predictions. What teams? Actually, what 3 players do you guys think are going to be on my next thumbnail? Or what team? What players? What are the 3 best players in the Western Conference? Because it might surprise you. It might honestly surprise you. Because I haven't made it yet, but I have an idea already of what those 3 players are. So with the way I like to do my thumbnails, I like to make them obviously a couple days in advance because it gives me a better understanding of what I'm going to talk about. Because initially, this wasn't gonna be the thumbnail for the video. I was initially gonna do the emo Jimmy. I was gonna have like an emo Jimmy with like a slash through it and like saying I missed the end or I won the end or like damn I'm sorry or something. It was gonna be something like that, and it would have just been alluding into Eastern Conference stuff. But you know, maybe I'll share that thumbnail with the public, with the masses one day. But not right now. But yes, I want you guys to comment what 3 players you think will be on my thumbnail for this upcoming video Friday, and I guess any type of music again. I do album reviews. If you guys, I'm currently waiting for Drake to drop because I want that to be my first big album review because why not make an album review for the biggest artist in all of the game probably right now. And it won't be the day of. I'm just putting that out there. It will not be the day of. It won't be. I don't believe in reviewing an album the day it comes out. I don't think it's stupid because I don't want to. Oh, I think the album's good, but I'm not going to give it a rating because it just don't make for good content. It doesn't. To be honest. So I would realistically want to give my honest opinions for this album. I want it to be good. Being honest, I want it to be good. I like Drake. I want it to be good. So I'm waiting for this album to come out because I really want to make that my first big album review. Whatever day it comes out, say it comes out on Wednesday, that would be perfect. I can do the review Friday. If it comes out on Friday, you won't be seeing a review until Tuesday. Just give me a heads up. Just give me a heads up. So it won't be a wake up call for that either because again, I don't believe in reviewing albums the day of. I think especially for something as big as a Drake album, Kendrick album, or Cole album, you gotta let those marinate. You just got to. You gotta let those sit. You gotta let those marinate. There's no rushing just to get a rating out, just to get, you know, in there. There's no rushing in it. You gotta let those type of things marinate. You gotta let those type of things sit. So whenever that comes out, yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Let me know you guys' opinions on some of the Eastern Conference teams that I talked about, players. Maybe you guys can guess the other 2 players because it's a handful of players that you can pick from the West that are going to be on the thumbnail. But I want to see you guys' opinion on who do you guys think will be the missing 2 players, or who you guys think will be on the thumbnail for the Western Conference predictions. So that is it for LazyCast. This is episode 2, going on to episode 3. I'm gonna see y'all Friday. I love you guys, and yeah, I've been your gracious associate Miles. There's no outro music this time. I kind of got in trouble for it, so I just played this. I'll just play a little snippet, but I got in trouble for it last time with YouTube, so I'm gonna chill out on the music a little bit. This is tape. I'm still be playing music, but just not as much. I won't just have like the whole song. So, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy again, and I will see y'all Friday. I'm gonna edit this right now. It is currently 6:55. This will probably be the one exception to where if I don't get this episode out today, it will be out early Wednesday morning. I mean, yeah, early Wednesday morning. So that is my bad. I woke up late. Um, it's just on me because I woke up late this time. But relatively going forward, I will try to get these out the day that I scheduled that they come out. So again, every Tuesday, every Friday, I will try to get these out. If I can't get it out to you guys today or tonight, and even still, I kind of don't want to release it tonight because it's I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll put out whether or not it'll be um, tonight or just early tomorrow morning. So hope you guys enjoy. I'm your gracious host, Miles. I am rambling on too much. Blood is yapping. What is blood yapping about? I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all Friday. Bye.